Hi, welcome to this week's Raqs Talks. I'm Perizaad.
Faizeh.
And this week we have the wonderfully talented Alia Saeed. Yay! Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to just sit and talk with the ladies about dance. Whatever we talk about.
Let's start with what we ask all of our guests. Why don't you tell us how you got into belly dance?
It's kind of long, but not long. My family obviously is Egyptian, and dance has been part of our culture forever. My family gets together, we dance, we go to weddings, we dance, we have an event, you have music and dance. But my sister and I always wanted to do like tap dance or ballet or something. My dad would always say, no, that we don't do that. When we got older, we used to go to restaurants and my dad would call ahead to find out if they had belly dancing or not. And if they did, we wouldn't go to dinner that night or to the restaurant. And my sister and I both have different views or different memories as to why we didn't go. I always thought that it was more of a conservative thing for my dad, like he just didn't want to watch the dancers. And my sister, she remembers him saying that that's not belly dance. So we have different views on why we didn't go see dancing or why my dad didn't want to see dancing at restaurants. And then my stepmother, she would always say it's just because you're trying to eat and they're like clanging their things. Then you're just like, I want to eat my food. And so there was just different reasons throughout the family of why we didn't watch belly dancing. We used to also, our family had a joke but we used to say things like, oh, I'm just going to run away and be a belly dancer then. So, never really was like, oh, I want to be a dancer. But I always loved the idea of dancing and dancing with my family and dancing to this music. And I started working at Renn Faire. I was around 15 or 16. And I would see the dancers at Renn Faire and I would be like, oh, I want to do that. A few years later, in my early 20s, I started in school. I would start taking dance classes as electives, like kind of slowly taking dance classes, all kinds, just because I never got to do it as a kid. But I was always kind of felt a little disencouraged because a lot of the students in the classes were already dance majors or already had dance formal training. And I was this girl who was like, I don't know how to spot a spin. What? I'm going to fall. Even to this day, I still say a little prayer every time to do a number of spins in a choreography. I'm like, all right, here goes. So I didn't really pursue it very much. And then there was a group at Faire. It was Ujam, and then Ujam turned to or left the Faire, and Bayabi started. And there was a few friends of mine who were starting the group. And I mentioned that I played the violin. We play some Arabic songs. So I joined the group as a musician instead of a dancer. And I would, go to their rehearsals and practice dance with them and the music so that I got a little bit of both. And then they introduced me to the fusion world of belly dance. So I actually started in the community as a fusion dancer or interested in fusion because, being American, but also being Egyptian, Arab American, it felt like a way to connect without being fully one or the other. Like I could mix the two styles. I could mix my personalities, my interests in a way, because I was like kind of a little goth punk kid too. So it felt like that's the right look for me. I then started taking classes with Suze, and she really encouraged me a lot to just do it. Like, who cares about training? Well, I mean, not who cares about training, but it doesn't matter your history of it. If you want to do it. And she it was a couple months of doing fat chance style. That's what we call it now, right? Yes. Fat chance style. She just had me do a little Christmas event, and I remember spinning across that floor, hitting everybody because I don't know how to spin. But, that was the encouragement I think I needed to just start just being interested in the dance community and, going and doing the local little events like the swap meets and little showcases. I started seeing women dancing to the songs that I grew up with, Kulthum, Abdul Halim and all that. And, it started giving me memories of listening to the songs with my dad and in the car driving. When I learned how to drive, my dad's gift to me to play in the car while we were driving was a box set of Kulthum tapes. So we were only allowed to listen to that while driving because he said it brought calmness to my mind, even though I wanted to listen to Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and stuff. I don't know, it just, seeing that reminded me of the culture that I have inside that I had shied away from for many years due to, I was in high school when 9/11 happened, so that was a confusing time trying to fit in, but also knowing that I was not necessarily going to fit in. So it felt like a full circle, and I'm really thankful for the fusion community, because without that I wouldn't have gotten into it and back to the roots of who I am and connecting with a part of my culture that I just kind of never really connected with.
That is when I met you, was when you were dancing with Suze.
Yes.
I really enjoy your dancing. And
Thank you.
So, and you dance with Kabila now.
Yes. So in 2012, the summer of 2012, Aubrey had come with Qabila to the Renn Faire and guested on a weekend day. And Mark Bissell, who runs the Faire group, who's a good friend of mine for a long time, he encouraged me to audition for the group. And so I did. And that was nerve-wracking because I'd never auditioned for a dance group before. And I was sitting in my car, like at the audition. I was there maybe like 30 minutes early because I didn't want to be late. And I remember sitting in my car just being like, I should go home. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is crazy. I know like the styles, because like they're technically the styles my family grew up with, but I don't have the training like other dancers do. I walked in and I just participated in the audition and I got invited to be in the group. So I was very excited, and past 8 years, like that has become more and more and more important to me, and being in that group has been it's been a really grounding and inspiring group of people, and we change constantly. We do have people who come and go, but everyone who's been in the group has been an important part of the group, and being in the group and getting to train and learn and help spread the word about Arabic cultures and folk dance is really, really, really exciting. So I don't think I could not be in Kabila. I think my heart would break if I ever had to leave Kabila for any reason. But I know we all grow, so who knows where our paths will go. But it's a huge part of who I am today, was being in Kabila. Aubrey is one of the biggest pushers in my life. Like, I can't tell her anything that I think I might want to do because I will have to do it by the end of the year. She will make it happen for me, whether I think I'm ready or not. She does. So
Alia, something that you have been talking about online that I thought was a really important topic that needs to be discussed, since you mentioned before about the switch from tribal or American tribal style to fat chant style. The belly dance community is kind of undergoing a renaming process on certain aspects of this dance. Anyway, something that you mentioned on one of your posts was people who aren't of the culture choosing Arabic names as stage names affects dancers of the culture when they are in this dance. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure, yeah. I don't think that it's wrong for people to choose the name of the culture and use it. I just think that like the hard part for people of the culture, and especially in the United States, when we have our cultural names are very tied to Islam, they're very religious names, or not. They don't always have to be, but Arabic names tend to have more meaning than just a name. And they're directly tied to our culture and our heritage. And a problem that I had growing up was that I didn't want to tell people my name. I told people my name was Lou or Ali, so that I wouldn't get made fun of at school or harassed. My dad doesn't go by his real name, he goes by Sam, because at the same time he had been people harassing him and he would pay with his credit card and say his full name. He had been told, you should change your name, because my dad's name is Osama. So that created a lot of backlash for him. It's just hard because for a lot of us, saying our name or someone hearing our name, they automatically think we're Muslim. My family was Muslim or is Muslim. I'm not practicing, my dad's not practicing, but we grew up in an Islamic home or with Islamic family. They can relate to being Islamic, and a lot of people do have Islamic names and are Muslim and do get harassed for their names. And it just kind of feels sometimes when I have to be adamant that my name is actually my name, when I've actually suffered a lot of discrimination because of my name, it actually kind of hurts when I go to an event and they're like, because so many people use stage names that are Arabic names, it does kind of hurt that I'm not recognized for myself. That's not the right way to put it, but I'm not recognized as an Arabic person or a person of culture because my name is so often used for stage name. But there's also the feeling that I've suffered, and a lot of women and people of Arabic culture who have these names suffer, or not even just Arabic people, Islamic people, regardless of culture, whether they're Black or Asian or Indian, they get harassed because they have Islamic names. It kind of feels like when a person chooses a very Islamic name to dance under or Arabic name to dance under, they get to put that name on to be popular on stage and fit a fantasy type or a creation of who they want to be on stage, and then get to take it off when it suits them. But we never get to take the name off, and we get harassed regardless. Like I got harassed going to the liquor store. I get emails at work from people who assume I'm a man because my name is Alia. It just kind of hurts sometimes when I go to an event and then I give my name and they're like, well, is that your stage name or your real name? Like, it's my real name. Your form said real name, so I put my legal real name. I also understand the need for stage names. Like, I don't think anybody should not have a stage name, especially in the Middle East. Women take stage names so that they don't have backlash, people finding out who they are for real. And I don't think that nobody should not choose a stage name. If you feel the desire to choose a stage name, then absolutely. But just know that there are some people who are suffering for their names or have lived this hard life because they have a name that helps people discriminate against them. I think sometimes I have an issue with like the way names are put together too. Like sometimes I'll see a name and I'm like, that's not even how we would name someone. Like, that's a little annoying sometimes. I just feel like when you take a stage name, you should be aware that there's a culture and a heritage to these names, and like it's not always fun and games for people who have these names. Like I don't think fun and games is the right word, but it's not always beautiful that we have these names. Like there are beautiful names because Arabic is a beautiful language and the names are beautiful, but that beauty doesn't always come across when it's our names and it's tied to our culture. And we're in a country that has a lot of discrimination against others in general, regardless of who they are.
So you're asking those who use a stage name to be mindful. Yeah.
Mindful, or understand why you're taking the name.
Yeah.
Make sure that you want to take the name, I think, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to talk about your amazing performance in the Rememberingretta show.
Oh my goodness.
At the Validity Babes. That was so amazing. And everyone during the premiere, I just remember everyone was losing their minds over it. It was like so.
That's another one of those things where you're like, I don't think I did that great, but everyone loves it. So I think I'm missing something in my own performance that everybody else is seeing and I'm not seeing. I did have fun doing that and trying to, I don't know Retta style very well. I'm not a classically trained dancer in any style, so that was really hard. I remember from a few workshops and from some choreographies what certain Retta moves were, and I tried to do them with a big skirt with the Falahi dress, and the Falahi dress is huge, so I was tripping on myself in the video. I was smacking tree posts and stumps, but I made it work.
It was amazing.
And I loved it. I didn't know what I would do because there's not a lot of Falahi videos or videos of Falahi dancers. There's just not. And the two scenes that I saw from movies were group choreographies because they probably would dance in groups because it's a social country dance. And I was by myself and I was like, I have no idea. So what I'm going to try to just do is Mahmoud Reda did a lot of movie choreography. So I'm going to make it like a little movie scene. And I'm just going to be a girl walking home with her pot, dancing on and off while she walks home. And I'm glad that actually worked out the way I wanted it to.
It was beautiful. Yeah. When we decided that was the show we wanted to do, we did not anticipate like that whole show was like
it was really good.
Thank you and we were just so excited because everybody just brought it. It ended up being this show that was really catering to belly dance nerds, and that's not what we set out to do, and that's what happened, but it was amazing. And I still tell people about your Falahi Suite.
And that was a huge learning process for me because the song was like 10 minutes long, so I had to edit it down, and that was really hard because there's a lot going on in that song. The different layers of the drums, the rick and the singing and the instrumentation. So like it was hard to find a nice clean stop and then pick it up again. So I was fussing with that for a long time. And I'm not a music editor. I don't know how to use computer programs to edit things. So that took me forever. I had like 6 different versions, and I was just like, well, the one that doesn't sound like there's a hiccup the most is going to be the one I'm going to dance to. So, Yulia was my roommate at the time, and you could ask her if you talked to her anytime soon that she had to listen to that song a lot. And she had to listen to me come in at like 3 a.m. and go like, I think I fixed the gap. Like obsessing over it. And then editing it together, I wasn't sure like if I wanted to film it once while walking down. I had Yulia helping me film it, but I didn't want to like make her feel like she needed to be doing all this great work for me. So I initially thought like of moving the camera like while I'm walking and dancing to the whole song, but then I just realized that I kept like stumbling and stuff that I needed to do a lot of takes. So what ended up happening was we just kept moving the camera a little bit down the road and like just dance to a certain spot and then dance to a certain spot and then dance and then so I had like 520-second clips that I ended up putting together. And that took a lot of patience. That I'm not a really patient person, to be honest, and that took a lot of patience and creativity. But like I do know like there was one clip that I put in that I was just so upset that I had to put in that clip because I smacked the tree or the branches with the skirt, and I made the eye rolly face, the I'm annoyed with myself like face at the camera, and then kept dancing. And I was like, that's fine. I took this shot like 4 times. It'll be fine. There's other ones. The other ones have this man walking up and back and forth like on their trail behind me. So I couldn't use those. So it had to be the eye rolly smack face. I smack the branch, roll your eyes face. But nobody noticed it, I don't think, or they just think.
I don't recall noticing
that.
Yeah.
But I was up like until like I had a very hard time with that one because I was like trying to get the other clips of the guy walking in and out of the background to work, because it's like, if I zoom in this way, you can't see the pit. Didn't work though. I tried.
I am very familiar with that process, having done my own Melody Babes show where I was like, okay, that part sucks. So this is but it was be like a really hard cut. And I'm like, if I pan from here to here. Yeah.
Like I also had one of the only videos of the Retta suite doing the Retta doing a Falahi suite on stage. Cuts in and out of the scenes a lot, and a lot of it was just the sweeping of the skirts. Like they would zoom in on the skirts. So I was like, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was amazing.
That was great. That was a great choice.
Well, this is, kind of one of the things about 2020 is how we have had to kind of rethink how we're sharing our art with everybody. And I'm very appreciative to both of you for doing such an amazing job and helping Adrienne and myself produce some beautiful shows, because it's easy to just slap some stuff together and you guys didn't. And so thank you.
It's really hard not to.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we talk about a lot, and as long as I have been a dancer, is how we can elevate the art form, like not as in it's terrible, but just like because the general public has ideas of what it's supposed to be, and so, well, how can we make it so that it's taken more seriously or things like that? And we're always, there's always going to be opinions, and it's always interesting to read those discussions or participate in those discussions. But it's been interesting this year to watch how we do it, because it's, you guys know it's so much better when we get to be in the same room with our audience.
Yeah.
But we don't get to be. So how can we really make it still art, still beautiful, not always just having our cat wandering through while we're in the middle of a drum solo.
Yeah, the shift to all online, everything has been really challenging in many ways for everyone this year, myself included, or especially. I think I work at a school, an international student advisor, and like all of my work has shifted to online from home. That's been challenging on how to connect with my students, like in that way, how to keep the best advising hours for them and how to be accessible to them, even though like there's Zoom and there's Teams and there's all kinds of things that I can connect with them, but a lot of them are not in the States anymore. So my hours now have to shift, or their hours. Like, do we make them wake up at 5 a.m. to talk to me at 4 p.m.? Like, it doesn't seem fair. So that's shifted. And then myself, I'm going back to school. I'm all online, and that is so hard for me because I can't focus on, like, you can give me a list of things to do, but if there's not like a definite turn it in hand deadline, I might take forever to do it. So, and then dance, like that has been really hard. Luckily for me, Qabila and Beaja and the groups that I'm in, Qabila and Beaja, we've been able to maintain online connection and dancing, and you know, just with Kabila, we dove into cultural studies and group discussions about what's happening in the communities, like not just the dance community, but the world in general. So we could, you know, stay on top of that and how we present ourselves as a folk dance troupe that is not Arab, like people, like I'm the only one, but like how we can present folk dance, Arabic folk dance in a way of understanding instead of we're just doing it because we like it. That was really a huge benefit this year. That was a benefit to being online, or being able to be online and be home, because usually we have 3 hours every Sunday to be together and talk about those things, but we maintain that. But my own personal dance and performing has taken a huge hit because I don't like to watch myself in videos, so it was really hard. It's been really hard to overcome that performing from my camera and my computer. I get really in my head, so I actually haven't done as much as I would have liked to do with all the time we've had being at home and all the connection and technology. I've shied away from it quite a bit just because I'm not there yet, I don't think. And that's okay. I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. So what is in store for you? What does the future hold?
Going back to school, I did full-time this semester because I thought I was being laid off at the beginning of the fall. But I ended up not getting furloughed or laid off. So that was fantastic news for me. But I had signed up for 17 credits, which is a lot when you work a full-time job. And then have rehearsals and stuff afterwards too. So I was a little manic the past 3 months, consistently panic mode. But I did it, and then I want to continue doing as much school a semester as possible, but I don't know if I can do 17 units again. And then dance, I have the goal of posting more things.
That's cool.
And doing things. I want to do those things, and I want to be more open to the community. I want to be more involved in the community. I get really nervous, like I have imposter syndrome, both as a dancer and as an Arab American, if that makes sense. I feel like because I'm not fully Egyptian, like I don't live in Egypt, I haven't been there in many years. My family is still there, but I'm here, that I don't get to be considered Egyptian, you know? But I'm also just American, so I don't feel like I'm fully American. I feel like the unique mix of that is that I have the cultural view that I can lend a reference as to why things are happening that way, or why people are reacting that way, from the perspective of someone who understands American culture too. Like, so that there's a bridge and a gap the gap between those ideas. So I feel, but that gives me imposter syndrome sometimes, because I feel like maybe I overstep boundaries when I talk, or if I come off too like self-important, you know, the context and the voice of when you type versus when you speak is not always the same. So like I just get imposter syndrome. And the fact that I haven't been dancing more than 10 years also feels like I'm a dance imposter, or that I don't have dance training, like formal dance training, that I'm an imposter as a dancer too. Like I have a hard time still saying that I'm a dancer. I have a very hard time saying when people ask me like, what do you do? I'm like, I like to dance. But I rarely say, oh, I'm a dancer. And that comes from also the imposter syndrome of not having been fully trained as a dancer, but also like the fear of saying that to my family. If that makes sense. Like, you know, there's both. And it's only been within the past year and a half or 2 years maybe that I have told my dad that I'm a dancer, and that he really is acknowledging that I dance, or that I participate in the belly dance community at all. He seems to be supportive because he thinks it makes me happy, so he's happy that it makes me happy. He loves the folk dance. He loves Kabila. He comes to every Kabila event he can. And he gets really excited, and he's sitting there singing all the songs, getting all groovy with it. He loves dubki, even though he's Egyptian. He loves dubki, so anytime there's dubki at any event, he's like, yes! And he wants to dance. You just see him do it, his little shake. He wants to get up and dance. I haven't fully admitted to him that I do Raqs because I don't know how he will respond. I know he probably knows in his brain that I do it. Like, he probably knows deep down in there that I do it, and it's just like one of those things that we just don't talk about. But he's still supportive of it, and he asks like, oh, what are you guys doing next? And are you still dancing? And how are you guys still dancing? And hopefully we can see you again in the new year, stuff like that. So he's supportive. I just didn't think he would be, but he is. Well, I didn't think he wouldn't be, but I didn't know how he would respond to it. You know, but like, don't tell my uncle, you know, my uncle who lives here, don't tell him that I do that. And even my cousin in Egypt wrote an article that I shared the other day about foreigners dancing in Egypt, and she and I were talking. I wrote her and I was like, oh, I loved your article. I tell her that I love all her articles, because I do, but I mentioned that like that's a topic that comes up in our community a lot, and she's like, I didn't realize that you were an actual dancer. She's like, I thought you like just kind of hid it from everybody. She's like, but I like, even her, she's like, I love watching belly dancers, I want to be a dancer, I love dancing, but I don't think my dad would approve. I was like, no, I don't think your dad or your brother would approve either. So it's that, like, I think people forget that in America, like, I'm a dancer, yeah, but like my fear of posting comes from a place of many different fears, not just of posting about being vulnerable and posting myself, but more of the like backlash, like, what if they do find out? What if they do have something to say? So there's like that idea that a lot of people forget that as Arabic women, yeah, we dance and we enjoy dancing, but some of us actually have to come out as dancers too. And then there's a big fear of being a dancer, what that can mean to our family life and our connections to the Arabic community.
I think that's something that we here really take for granted.
Yeah. I mean, it's a conversation that started with the I can never pronounce it. I'm always bad at it. The Egyptian pop music.
Mahaganat. I can't say it either.
Anyway, festival dancing, because that word means
dancing. Thank you. But like when we were talking about that, and you know, the conversation came up, I think because Americans can see a parallel between what's currently going on in Egypt and what happened in the US with rap and hip hop and everything like that. I think that because we can see those parallels, it's very easy to come from a mindset that we've moved past that. Like, oh yeah, we were there and we moved past it. It's something you need to move past. It's like,
right.
It's something that the culture needs to come to terms with on their own, and it's not for us to necessarily comment on. And it's something that we need to be respectful of. And like we're saying, we need to be very grateful for the fact that we can dance however we want to whatever we want, while still respecting what's happening over there.
Right. A few years ago when street shabby, like the street style shabby, was being put on stages, I kind of felt myself being annoyed, and like I didn't like it very much. And it wasn't because none of the girls were dancing bad. Everyone was a great dancer, and everything was artistic and fine. But I realized that the feeling for me is that it felt kind of rude in a way that we get to dance. Even myself, I'm Egyptian, but I'm not in Egypt. I'm in America, so I still get to. I can go to a dance event and dance however I want and dress how I want. But if I were in Egypt, I wouldn't be able to do those things, or I wouldn't be able to easily do those things. So it felt kind of bad that we were putting this on stage as something like to show off and be happy and dance about it. But these women are using it as their protest. Like, they're suffering because they can't wear these things, they can't do these things, and this is how they're dancing as rebellion, but we're putting it on stage in sparkly outfits and like sparkly bras with a pair of jeans and like hip hop shoes, and we're making it like this stylization when it's, to them, it's a real thing. Like, it's a thing that's happening, and we're a little bit out of context. We see them dancing it, we're like, yeah, we want to do that too, because that's what they're doing. There's context that's missing for us in the
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's the same thing that's happening now with the conversations about the new style of music and dance. It's not for us to judge. It's not anything. We have the freedom of music and of going to an event and performing to live music or classical music if we wanted to, where the women there now have to dance to this music because that's what the clubs want to play. We're outside of the culture. We can't judge it. We just have to let it unfold the way it's going to unfold.
So, Alia, we're going to let you go. But before we do, can we find out where on social media we can find you?
Yeah, I have a Facebook fan page that will have more content in the new coming year. That will be my goal, to put more content on there. And it's at my stage name, Alia, A-L-I-A, and then Gamal, G-A-M-A-L. I do also post a lot on Instagram. I love posting on Instagram and videos, which is Alia, A-L-I-A, and then Lulu, L-U-L-U, Gamal. But if you like that, if you go and like that page, you'll just see a lot of knitting and embroidery and cats.
Well, that was Alia Gamal. Alia, thank you so much for talking with us. It was fascinating. Really, it was. That's all we have for this week. I'm Perizaad.
I'm Faizeh.
And please give us a like, share, or comment if you liked what we talked about today. Otherwise, subscribe so you can get new videos of us in the new year. But we'll see you next week. Ma salama.